Sheesh, guys, look at Shopify Go. The stock is up around 25% right now, up over $11 per share, and it's completely breaking out here on the 4-hour chart. We're above the moving averages, we're at a multi-month high, and we're above clearly the wedge that we were trading in for a couple of weeks. So in this video, we're going to break down the charts, we're going to go over the numbers, and we'll talk about what I'm doing with Shopify stock. So if you all find value, hit that like button, make sure to subscribe, and don't forget to get up to 15 stocks from Moomoo, link down below. It's free money, guys. We'll talk more about that later. And now let's dive into it. So again, guys, Shopify is up over 25% right now, which is freaking insane. So let's just dive into it and break down the numbers, talk about, what's going on. We'll break down the chart, all that good stuff. So they ended up doing adjusted EPS of 1 penny, which was a surprise profit. They were expecting to actually lose 4 cents on the quarter, so that's good. And revenue beat as well, 1.51 billion versus 1.43 billion estimated. So they beat EPS and they beat on revenue, and we'll talk about the report, the actual financial highlights here in a couple of minutes, so make sure you guys stick on throughout. And again, like I said in the intro, we're breaking out completely on this 4-hour chart. Not only are we above the moving averages, but we're also breaking out of the wedge, and we're taking out the highs from a couple of weeks ago, which is a really good sign. Well, actually from a couple of months ago as well. You can see back in the beginning of February, we were struggling at about 54, 55 bucks, right? Then we ended up dumping all the way down to 38 bucks. That was a big drop there for Shopify stock. It was down 30% during that time period. And of course, looking back, we held the trend. We ended up digging ourselves deeper into that wedge. And again, now we're completely breaking out. So let me pull up the yearly chart here on Shopify, guys, and let me see where it's trading at. It actually might be at a yearly high. Actually, yes, it is at a 1-year high right now. Let me pull up the 3-year chart and see what's going on here. And you'll notice here on the 3-year chart, we're still well off the all-time highs. The all-time highs were hit back in the end of 2021 when actually a lot of stocks ended up peaking. This stock peaked at about 176, and then of course it went down all the way down to 23 bucks a share. That was a drop of 86%, guys, which is freaking insane. Now again, we're rebounding, we're breaking out on the 3-year chart slightly, and on the 4-hour chart as well. And we're not quite yet above the 180 SMA, hence why I said slightly breaking out, but we're getting close. The 180 SMA is right at about 80 bucks a share. Now we're at 58, so I mean, we still have a ways to go to get to 81 bucks a share, but it looks like we have an inverse head and shoulders forming on this 3-year chart. You guys can probably see it. Let me show you guys this. Boom, we have the left shoulder right there, we have the head right here, and we have the right shoulder right here, which now is playing out with, the break out of the wedge on the 4-hour chart. So in my opinion, guys, sure, it's overbought on the 4-hour time frame, but ultimately this momentum could take us back to $80. Sure, we might pull back a little bit, we might chop around for the next couple of weeks, but the trajectory could get us to, again, that $80 level, which is right around the 180 SMA here on the 3-year chart. And if that were to break, we could be going up even higher from that point. Who knows how much more it could go up? I mean, could it go to all-time highs again? It could, but that probably won't happen for a couple of years, at least in my opinion. But we'll see. We'll see. Never say never. It might happen sooner than you think. I don't know. But all I do know is now, technically speaking, again, we're breaking out. The bulls are 100% in charge. So let me actually pull up the Safari tab. Bear with me here, guys, so we can see some of these key financial highlights from the report that just came out this morning. And mind you, guys, later on today after the bell, we have, Apple and a lot of other companies reporting. So make sure to subscribe because we will be breaking down Apple's earnings in depth later on today. So first quarter highlights. Oh, crap. Excuse me, guys. Gross merchandise volume increased 15% to $49.6 billion. You guys see that right here, an increase of $6.4 billion over the first quarter of 2022, up 18% on a constant currency basis. Very good. And total revenue increased by 25% to $1.5 billion compared to the prior year, up 27% on a constant currency basis. So when a lot of companies are not growing revenues year over year, Shopify is growing revenue. They're doing pretty good year over year in the midst of, let's be honest, a collapse in revenue growth for a lot of companies in that same space. Sure, their revenue growth has declined, but it's still 25%. That's pretty respectable in my humble opinion, guys. And coming down here a little bit more, we see the merchant solutions revenue that increased 31% to $1.1 billion compared to the prior year, up 33% on a constant currency basis, driven primarily by the growth of GMV and continued penetration of Shopify payments. And of course, gross payments volume grew to $27.5 billion, representing 56% of GMV processed in the quarter versus $22 billion or 51% for the first quarter of 2022. And let's go down a little bit more here. Let's see. Solutions revenue, increased 11% to $382 million compared to the prior year, up 11% on a constant currency basis, primarily due to more merchants joining the platform, as well as higher variable platform fees and apps. And monthly recurring revenue as of March 31st, 2023 increased 10% to $116 million compared to the prior year. And you guys can see here, monthly recurring revenue gains were driven by more merchants converting to full price standard subscription plans from our trial experiments, as well as continued growth in the number of Shopify Plus merchants and retail locations utilizing in terms of Shopify's Point of Sale Pro solution. Shopify Plus contributed $39 million or 34% of monthly recurring revenue, with 30% of monthly recurring revenue compared with 30% of monthly recurring revenue as of March 31st, 2022. That's a very big financial highlight right there, guys. The fact that Shopify Plus is making up more of the monthly recurring revenue than it did last year, that's a very good sign in my opinion. Now let's come down a little bit more and see here what gross profit is looking like. Gross profit dollars grew 12% to $717 million compared to the prior year, and gross margin for the quarter was 47.5% compared to 53% in the first quarter of 2022, driven primarily by a high mix of revenue from our lower margin solutions or margin merchant solutions segment, primarily from the lower margin revenue contributions from Deliver and Shopify payments. An operating loss was $193 million or 13% of revenue versus $98 million or 8% of the revenue for the comparable period a year ago. So their operating losses actually increased, which, okay, that makes sense. A lot of companies are losing more money today. Margins are coming down. It's just the reality of the matter, right, guys? An adjusted operating loss came in at $31 million or 2% of the revenue, compared with adjusted operating loss of $32 million or 3% of the revenue in the first period of 2022. You guys can see that right here. The difference primarily reflects lower gross margin percentage compared to the same period last year and increases in operating expenses related to higher compensation, including Deliver. If we come down a little bit more, let's see what the free cash flow is looking like. Free cash flow came in at $86 million or 6% of revenues, compared with negative free cash flow of $41 million or 3% of revenues in the first quarter of last year. So that's actually good, guys. Their free cash flow increased. It's gotten a lot better than last year. That's very, very good. And Shopify had cash and marketable securities of $4.9 billion as of March 31st, 2023, and a net cash position of $3.9 billion after consideration of the outstanding convertible notes. Let me actually see what's their balance sheet looking like, guys. Let's find the balance sheet here. Then we'll talk a little bit more about the chart. I mean, actually, I already said everything I feel like I needed to say when it comes to the chart, but I do want to see the health of their balance sheet right now. Here we go. So other current assets, or rather total current assets, are $5.9 billion. You guys can see right there. Let me zoom in a little bit more. $5.9 billion. Cash and cash equivalents right now, $1.7 billion. And current liabilities, look at that. Their current liabilities are right around, let's see, $880 million. So their balance sheet, guys, is very strong. I mean, they have, again, $1.7 billion of cash, where they have roughly $880 million of current liabilities, debts that are due within the next 12 months. So essentially, if they wanted to, they can pay off all of their accounts payables, accrued liabilities, deferred revenue, and lease liabilities like that. They could pay it off like that with all their cash, and they'd still have $800-900 billion of cash if they were to do that, or rather not billion, $1 million of cash if they were to go ahead and pay their current liabilities off, which is possible. I mean, they're not going to do that, but they can easily do that if they wanted to. And we can see the current ratio is, oh my God. So look at that, 5.9 billion over 800 million. Their current ratio is incredible. I mean, that's a current ratio of over a 5, a 6. I mean, that's really, really good here for Shopify. And that's pretty much all I wanted to look at here, guys. Of course, we could talk more. We have the consolidated statements of cash flows here. We also have, of course, the income statement. If we take a look at this right here, the consolidated statements of operations and comprehensive income or loss. In this case, they did have a 1 cent profit for the quarter on an adjusted basis. So pretty good report for Shopify, guys. And I'm not sure what guidance was. I was actually trying to find it. I couldn't really find it for the sake of this video. But either way, their stock is up a whopping 26% now. Very big move for the stock. And like I said earlier in the video, guys, it is a little bit overbought. So keep in mind, we might chop around a little bit. We might even cool off a little bit in the short term, but that could open up potentially a dip buy in the stock. And I might consider it at that point for a trade. And we could start making a move towards, let's say, the 60s, 70s, 80s over time. Definitely possible. So what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Feel free to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to get up to 15 stocks for Moomoo. Listen, guys, once you open up an account using that link down below, you get 1 free share of stock right off the bat. And if you deposit at least $100, you get 4 more stocks, totaling 5 stocks. And listen to this, guys. If you deposit at least $1,000, you get 10 more stocks on top of those 5 stocks, totaling 15 free stocks. And of course, all those links down below, the Moomoo link, the Webull link, the Patreon link, all of those help out the channel. And by the way, check out the Patreon. You get access to my Discord chat. You get to see my Patreon portfolio, which I just bought more stock in that portfolio today. And you also get my charts and ideas and access to me throughout the day. All of that is linked down below. And just know, guys, I appreciate you all as always. And with that being said, cheers. I'll catch you in the next video.